She and I walked down the stairs and saw a bicycle parked there, probably one of the hotel staff, so I asked to borrow it. With the bicycle and her, we both ridden around the streets. She was wearing a skirt, so she sat to one side, hugging my waist. Her soft hands gripped my waist tightly every time I swerved. We both laughed loudly, like we were young buffaloes walking in the drizzle. We stopped at a roadside restaurant and ate voraciously because of the hunger that had been tormenting us for so long. I had never seen her eat so deliciously. Occasionally I fed her, she smiled and accepted it, and she fed me back. Everyone who saw us must have thought we were a couple in love. Because of our youthful appearance compared to our age, everyone was easily mistaken. If she were not married, we would have been a very beautiful couple. After eating, we both went for a walk to see the scenery. The flat roads were ideal for cycling. It had been a long time since I had ridden a bike like this, and I felt happy sitting behind a beautiful, attractive woman. I kept driving her around the city until I forgot the way home, and I really did forget. I got lost. However, it was not a big deal because I just needed to run towards the sea to know where to go. After wandering around for a while, I finally found the way to the sea. I was tired from cycling, so I invited her to sit and watch the sea for a while. "This sea is so beautiful. Let's sit and relax for a bit." "Okay." She and I left our bikes on the sidewalk and walked together on the long white sand beach, the sea breeze blowing cool and strong. We sat down on the sand and watched the vast sky and earth, countless young men and women playing on the sea and in the water. The bustling scene spread to our souls. My hand found hers, squeezed it lightly, and pulled her to run towards the vast sea. The waves lapped, making people feel light-headed. I swept my leg to push the water splashing on her. She also responded. Both of us played with the surging waves. Her and my bodies were almost soaked. The pure white dress that was fluttering in the wind was now soaked with water, so it was heavy and stuck to her body. I took off my shirt and put it on to cover her. She was embarrassed but understood, silently thanking me. After tying the t-shirt for her, I looked up at her. Her shy face quickly turned away to avoid. I held her hand and waltzed along the beach, my emotions surging like waves hitting the shore. "Let's go home or we'll catch a cold." "Yeah, let's go home." Taking her slowly on the road along the sea, the scenery here is so peaceful. The boats offshore line up endlessly like my feelings for her. Back to the room, I rushed into the bathroom intending to wash off all the sand stuck on my body. Then another bold idea popped into my head. I ran into her room and said, "Miss, can I take a shower in your room? The faucet in my bathroom is broken." Of course I ruined it. It was the plan. She wasn't in the room. She was in the bathroom washing her hands and feet. "Really? Then go wash up." I jumped in and scrubbed my hands and feet, grabbed the shower head, washed my hair naturally as if nothing had happened, then playfully let the nozzle spray water on her. She jumped up and covered it with her hand. We continued to play around in the cramped room. I took off my tank top, poured water, and asked her to pour water on my back to remove all the sand. Her hands gently slid up my back, rubbing like a gentle and warm mother. The wet pants stuck to my body, revealing a bulge. I stood still while she poured water. Her hands enthusiastically slid all over my body, from my neck to my stomach. She froze for a moment when she saw that bulge. Her shyness made her stand still in confusion. I took the faucet, took the initiative to pour water on her arms, her legs, and then poured it straight on her. The wet t-shirt and white skirt were pressed tightly against her body. A hug that surprised her. Yes, I hugged her, our two hot bodies stuck together, the faucet above still continuously pouring water down as if to cool down the heat in both of us. The impact made her move back to avoid it, but my hand, placed on her waist, held her back and slowly slid down her body. It really slid down. I couldn't believe I could be so bold. She and I stood motionless for a long time, neither of us saying a word because we both seemed to be waiting for something. Something very clear but also very vague. At this moment, her body was hotter than mine. My heat just spread to her body intensely. The other hand grabbed her hand, squeezed it tightly and brought it to my lower part. She seemed to know my intention and quickly pulled it away. Her decency was not easy to defeat. A bit of hesitation appeared in me, making me not dare to act rashly anymore. I looked at her, her eyes quickly avoided. I was feeling emotional, but I did not dare to act rashly, so I quickly kissed her hair and let her go. "Okay, you go take a shower. I will go back to my room to change clothes." "Thank you." The fake gentleman in me rose again. Walking back to my room, my heart was heavy. Suddenly, I was afraid of her modesty and decency. If I were to take a risk, I might be able to achieve my goal, but then I would be no different from a commoner, not worth the effort I have put in so far, not worthy of an educated person like me. If I were to conquer her, I had to make her feel satisfied and accept her. After all, she was a woman with a family, an educated teacher, a virtuous wife. If I were to be tempted, I would have to be tempted by an educated and gentlemanly person. Only then would she easily accept. Otherwise, her conscience would be tormented and tormented forever. Well, if a beauty wanted to die, she had to die under a worthy hero. After taking a shower, I brought a chair out to the balcony. The afternoon breeze blew gently, cooling my soul. Everything was as I had planned, but now I felt like there was nothing fun. My interest suddenly disappeared like smoke. Didn't I want her? My desire? But it seemed like that wasn't me. I suddenly realized that all this time I had been controlled by desire to achieve my dark plan. We easily get interested in everything, but often forget the values we already have, and only when we lose them do we realize their value. That's usually how life is. She was now like a fish in a tank, and I was the one fishing. Such a small tank. It was only a matter of time before she bit the hook. I was satisfied with my calculations, but I also felt like a petty person. Yes, I should be like that, and that there would be no one else who was attractive enough to me like her. So she will be the last stop on the love adventure of my life. The decision has been made. Whether it works or not depends on fate. So why are you sitting there thinking about Australia? I turned around and saw that she had finished showering and entered my room. She was wearing a black tank top and long sports pants, looking very young and healthy. While I was sinking into my emotions, I was disturbed by her vibrant body. God, the tree wanted to be quiet, but the wind kept bothering me. I'll come out here and sit and enjoy the view to cool off a bit. I don't know what else to do. Why don't you turn on the TV to watch for fun? I rarely watch TV these days. Yeah, it's almost dark. Let's sit for a bit and then go get something to eat, okay? She took another chair and sat with me. We leaned against the railing and chatted. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. She stroked her jet black hair. Your hair is beautiful. I inherited it from my mother, so I don't need to take care of it at all. It's smooth and straight. Oh, it's already puffy. It's true, it's beautiful, but it has grey hair. No way! She panicked. It is. Are you lying? Then I'll pluck it out for you to see. What can I do? I can do anything, remember that. It was true that there was only one grey hair, but that one hair was enough to help me win the bet. Hey, what should I do now? Oh, there is. It's ruined. It's just one hair, don't worry. I get it sometimes too. I'm really old. Never mind, I lost. Now I can do anything, right? Okay. Then before we go eat, you have to shave me. Okay, let's do it now and then go eat. She took a chair and walked into the room. I took the razor and the foam bottle to shave her. She held the spray bottle and splashed it all over my face. This woman really likes to joke around. I hugged her and tickled her in retaliation. She wriggled and dodged, then fell onto the bed, causing me to fall down with the momentum. My body pressed against hers. She avoided by pushing me away, but failed. "You sprayed it, now shave me. I'll let go after you're done, or I'll tickle you." "No, don't. It's ticklish, so do it." She lifted the razor and shaved gently, carefully, meticulously. I didn't pay attention because my body was lying on top of her soft body, and that thing was under her pants, pressing against her lower body. It seemed like she felt it or something. Her face was slightly red. I watched her passionately while shaving. My body was motionless, not daring to move, partly because I was afraid the friction would make her embarrassed, partly because I was afraid she would be distracted and shave my face. The shyness on her face was like that of a young girl, always shy and confused, which really excited me. Her soft hand pressed against her face was indescribable. Occasionally she glanced into my eyes. I still looked at her intently. Her chest heaved with her breathing because of emotion. I wanted to kiss her so much. "There you go. It's the first time I've been shaved by a woman. Are you good at bullying me?" "Heh. Let me go." "No. I'm hungry." Whatever, I collapsed on her, kissing her long hair and feeling her warmth. She was confused but didn't stop me. Our two hot bodies seemed to be playing with each other in a tangled forest of reason. "Let me go. Let's go." A gentle but decisive push. I had to let her go, stroked her long hair to untangle it. Then we went outside. She wanted to walk to relax and enjoy the scenery. The bustling scene here was completely different from the sadness of her hometown, making her excited and happy. Her soul now seemed to be lost in a fairyland, seemingly not paying attention to the world, just carefreely blending into this place. Her already beautiful and elegant face now seemed to be younger, even more elegant and beautiful. It didn't surprise me that the spirit had such a big influence on appearance. The wide red skirt that reached her knees fluttered in the wind. The long-sleeved white t-shirt made her stand out even more in this place. The cars that passed by on the street all turned their heads to look at that ecstatic beauty. The young men's eyes lit up with desire. The girls' eyes lit up with admiration. As for me, a lovesick boy, I could only follow behind to enjoy that perfect body with intense emotions surging up. Her beauty makes me think and fall in love because this beauty is so different. She is gently beautiful, but sometimes she is radiantly beautiful, so radiant that it overshadows all the beauty around her. Am I being too sanctified or delusional? I don't know. I just know that she is really beautiful in this situation. She is like a mysterious black hole in the universe that absorbs all the eyes around her, no matter how big or small, old or young, male or female. No exception. "Why are you walking so slowly?" She looked so happy that I walked behind to admire her. "Who is this person? Why is she so beautiful?" "The monkey is just having fun after a long time. We've been gone for a while now. What do you want to eat now?" "I don't know. Why don't we find a place to eat seafood?" "Yeah, that's right. We should eat seafood when we come down from the mountain. We're tired of eating wild meat up there." We went to a restaurant on the road along the beach, ordered some dishes, and drank a few glasses of beer. She was not used to drinking, so she only drank 1 bottle. I drank 3. The beauty of this place, the hustle and bustle of this restaurant combined with her beauty, made me feel emotional. It is not easy to enjoy this flavour in life. To be honest, even if you sit here with your wife, you may not have this feeling, because your wife is not necessarily the most beautiful person in your eyes. She can only be the most beautiful in your heart. As for her, in my eyes she is the most beautiful person. In my heart she is also the most beautiful, and her family is the model that I aspire to. I wish that in the future I will also have a wife as beautiful and virtuous as her. Therefore, sitting next to her are moments that I must remember deeply in my life, so that when I get old, I will remember the beautiful and passionate time with her and smile to myself, a smile that only I know, a smile among countless smiles in life. Why are you so pensive, kid? Looking at her eating, I felt full. To tell the truth, people say that small mouths are very cunning. I think that's true. Your thin, rosy lips look very beautiful, and people like that are usually very sweet-talking. I have to be careful with your beak. I'm going to laugh at you, even if you deceive the whole world. They will leave me out. Don't worry. Why? Because I love you. You're crazy. She was a bit confused when she heard my answer. However, she calmed down and joined the conversation. I understand, but you're an adult now. You need to find a suitable lover and then give all your love to that person. That's what you should do. Fate will come by itself. If fate doesn't come, even if you look to the ends of the earth, it's still fate. Well said. Let's clink glasses. The closer it got to night, the stronger the wind seemed to be, blowing cold air towards the shore. Her thin, sensitive skin shivered slightly from the wind. Her long hair was blown against her face from time to time. Come here and sit next to me so I can block the wind for you. Okay. The wind was so strong that she came and sat next to me, my body blocking the wind so she felt less cold. We continued our conversation, just the two of us, but still very lively in each story. We were full, now just sitting and waiting for the food to digest a bit to lighten our stomachs before walking home. The night sky was also beautiful, soothing to the heart. My hand on hers seemed to transmit warmth to her, and a light squeeze from her hand made my emotions surge. Yes, just a light squeeze from her was enough to make my body feel hot, the heat coming from somewhere in this cool night. It's interesting to think about it. Emotions can make the body hot and cold abnormally. A strong wind blew, her loose red skirt was blown up, revealing her entire white thighs in two seductive black stockings. The stockings reached halfway down her thighs. That image immediately caught my eye unexpectedly. She shyly reached out to pull her skirt down and held it down, then looked at me. I was also embarrassed to be caught staring at that place, quickly turning away shyly. The devil in my pants seemed to want to rebel. Let's go home. The wind is too strong and cold. Yes. We leisurely walked side by side on the street. Anyone who looked at us would think we were a couple. Her youthful features combined with my tall figure made people misunderstand, which was understandable. Walking with her, to me, anywhere was beautiful. No need to look at anything, because this world seemed to only have her, and she was all I could see at the moment. Arriving at the hotel, walking up the stairs to my room, I immediately invited her to go up to the terrace to watch the clouds and wind for a bit, before returning to her room to rest. She also thought it was interesting, so she agreed. She and I stood holding onto the railing and looked at the streets. The dense lights looked really pleasing to the eye. It was really interesting to feel so high up and look down. My soul also felt comfortable because of the feeling like I was floating in the vast sky. I scared her by hugging her thighs and lifting her up gently. She was startled and wrapped her arms around my neck until she was suffocating and then hit me hard on the back. It hurt so much. I gently let her go but still stood still behind her, lightly kissing the strands of hair blown back by the wind. 2.0 Flash Experimental. Might not work as expected. The emotions in me at that moment were like a broken dam, pouring out. In a moment of not being able to control myself, I placed a kiss on her cheek. Her skin was so fragrant and soft. A shiver of surprise, and she was motionless. About 30 seconds later, she turned around to look at me. Our eyes met so closely. My desire almost overwhelmed my mind, urging my body to do something, but was stopped by reason. She put her 2 hands on my chest as if to restrain me. "Don't, we shouldn't do this. I know we should just do this. Don't go any further. It's just that I can't control myself." She understood that emotions were only temporary and would pass quickly. "Miss, I love you, I cherish you, I looked at her shyly. "But I want to kiss you as a souvenir. I want my first kiss to be for you." After saying that, I couldn't believe my mouth anymore. My body trembled slightly with fear. It was still her dignity that pressed down on me, making me feel like a child who had made a mistake. I pulled my hand away and looked at her, unable to help but feel nervous and anxious, my heart pounding. "We shouldn't be like this, I know, but hurry up. You should give your first kiss to the person you love. I don't think you're suitable." "You're very suitable and worthy." After a while of persuasion, she seemed to relent. I was still confused and didn't know what to do when she put her finger on my cheek. "Just one here." The desire reached its peak when I heard her say that. She accepted, and that was all I needed. Looking at the meat cleaver, I didn't care where her finger was pointing. My mouth was already on her lips. Her astonishment appeared on her beautiful face. I still passionately kissed her. Forced kissing was always difficult. She couldn't accept it easily. Her 2 hands pushed me away but was helpless before the strength of a man. Her head tilted to the sides to avoid, but wherever her lips went, mine was always there. Struggling helplessly, her body gradually relaxed. Her lips were no longer tightly pressed. Her beautiful plump lips were oppressed by my lips. The lipstick on her lips seemed to be swallowed by me. Under the vibration of intense emotions, our 2 bodies stuck together. The scent of her body wafted, making my heart swoon in a dream. My greedy hand slowly lowered, not daring to move, because I was afraid that this magical moment would disappear. But that was all I needed to be happy. Kissing and touching her waist passionately, a feeling that was hard to describe. She stood still, helplessly enduring the situation. I knew her feelings were also very strong. Although I was immersed in the intense emotions of the kiss, my mind was also simultaneously stirred by 2 conflicting thoughts. One side was wanting to take her down right now to satisfy the wave of love that had been there for so long. The other side was absolute respect for her. This fierce struggle made me extremely miserable, endlessly brain-damaging. Little brother in my pants was like a piece of wood, and in that internal struggle, my reason seemed to be defeated by the great provocation, overwhelming everything. It was that loosening of reason. My fingers were about to go deeper when she suddenly woke up, startled, and pushed me away, making me startled. "No, don't. No, I've had enough." She finished breathing and didn't want to do it anymore. Her face showed a hint of misery because she also had to struggle with her reason as strongly as me. She was a married woman. She couldn't be so casual. A little disappointment appeared in my heart. Looking at her made me feel so sorry. She had a hard time overcoming the burning desire within her. I hugged her gently and looked at the distant horizon. Her body trembled slightly, choking. I didn't know what to say to her now. "I'm tired. I want to go home and sleep." "Yes." I followed her down the stairs, my heart feeling empty and disappointed. One step to heaven was truly an extremely difficult step. The fatigue was near, but so far. Watching her walk into the room, the door closed as if her heart had closed to me. That was really the end. Lay walked into the room, dejected, like a defeated soldier, falling onto the bed and thinking vaguely and far away. The failure made me lose my morale. At the same time, my respect for her increased. I didn't blame her because I knew this wasn't easy. I knew her for so long and understood. Obviously, that kiss was the sweetest kiss of my life, a kiss that made me forget all the other kisses, a kiss worthy of my long-standing efforts, a perfect kiss, removing some of the long-standing desire, a kiss without regrets. It was sad that she refused, but it was better to love her and suffer than to never know her for the rest of my life. I picked up the phone and texted her, "I'm sorry, I couldn't control myself, please forgive me." She also texted back, "It's over, I don't remember, you should go to bed early." She was always like that, very tolerant and affectionate. Good night? Then I went into the bathroom. The heat of the kiss had not subsided in my body, and the excitement seemed to still be there. I had to go and rinse my face to cool down the fire in my heart. I took off my clothes and stood under the shower. The cool water helped to calm my spirits somewhat. But the little guy who had been so depressed and suffocated just now was indescribable. It was still standing up to the sky as if screaming for justice. Filled the tub with water and then lay down to soak and enjoy the cool feeling. In my head, I kept thinking about the feeling I had just experienced, an incomplete feeling. Soaking in the cool water gradually cooled my body, calmed down my desire, and my mind became more relaxed and calm. She was the first person to make me suffer like this, and also the person who haunted me for such a long time. If only I had not met her, it would have been better, less miserable. At this moment, I remembered Limo Cho's saying, "What is love?" Human happiness and suffering are all due to love. Love can turn you into a different person in an instant. Love can make you drown in endless happiness, or it can also sink people to hell. Just one word, but its power is immeasurable. Since meeting her, I have almost become a different person that even I don't recognize. I am neither worse nor better, but I lost something of my own identity. She made me compare, made me daydream, made me wander in illusions. But I realized that I truly loved her. But how could I love in this situation? I only blamed fate for not allowing me to be born in the same era as her. I loved her at first sight when she entered the class before the literature major in 12th grade. That perfect figure made me dizzy both mentally and spiritually. Then when I met her, I loved her personality, loved that sweet but refreshing voice, loved that shiny hair, loved those smiling eyes, loved everything about her. I realized more and more that I was deifying her too much, but that deification was completely justified. The phone rang, interrupting my train of thought, and I didn't know how long I had been soaking in the water, maybe more than half an hour. Soaking in the cool water because my body felt a bit cold. Cold, but I didn't know who was calling at such a late hour. I stood up, fumbled to the bed, picked up the phone and said, "Hello," without even looking at who was calling. A very familiar voice rang out, a clear voice that I could never forget in this life. "Are you asleep yet? Let me borrow your charger. Your husband just called, and the battery ran out. Your charger is broken or something that won't charge." "No, I'm not asleep. I'm taking a shower. Come get it and wait for me a bit." No matter how happy or sad I was, hearing her voice made me feel excited and cheerful again. Just hearing her voice made my body full of vitality. I left my phone on the bed, went into the bathroom, turned on the water again, and went to sleep. But then I thought, if I let her come over while I was still taking a shower like this, that's fine. The sound of the door opening made me know she was coming in. I left the charger on the table, take it. "Yeah, it's late and you can get sick if you take a bath. It's windy here, so it's too hot, so you can take a bath to sleep. Yeah, the wind in the sea is a bit salty and hot, that's right." I kept running the water, and the bathroom door wasn't closed. I glanced through the mirror and saw that she was still standing there. Why hadn't she come back yet? Strange. Or did she have trouble sleeping and want to chat with me before going to sleep? Never mind, I pretended not to know and just showered and watched her actions. Through the mirror, I saw that she had plugged in the charger in the room. I was busy pressing on my phone, occasionally glancing towards the bathroom, specifically at my body reflected in the mirror at the door. If I looked straight into the mirror, I could catch her eyes, so I just stood to the side so she wouldn't know that I was sneaking a glance at her. Then I also teased her a bit, my hands rubbed all over her body. She saw all those actions. I rinsed the water one last time, and then took a towel to dry my body, intending to come out naked like that, but I pretended not to know that she was still in the room. But somehow, I took a towel and wrapped it around my lower body and walked out. I didn't know what to think anymore. "Oh, you haven't come back yet. I thought you had." "Oh, let me charge the battery for a bit and then let me charge it. You go home and sleep." Her face turned red when she saw almost my entire body. My body wasn't as perfect as a model's, but I was tall, had clear muscles, and a large and broad chest because I exercised diligently, so I was very confident in my body, believing that she would be moved to some extent when she saw me. The surprise passed quickly. She quickly turned away and avoided me, but after only taking 3 steps, I was already close. "You thought it would be easy to come and go." Grabbing her hand face to face, she was clearly confused, like a young girl about to do it for the first time. Holding her 2 hands tightly, standing still and looking, her face at this moment was even more beautiful and attractive to me. She pulled her 2 hands back but couldn't. Her mouth stuttered as if she wanted to say something. I kept looking at her. The more I looked, the redder her face became with embarrassment, placing a gentle and affectionate kiss on her forehead. She shook her head slightly and turned away to avoid me. Now was the perfect opportunity. The delicious bait was right in front of her mouth. However, I had to be gentle and tactful to lull her into a state of love. Using softness to control hardness was the best strategy. I absolutely could not be hasty. I held her close to my chest, feeling the warmth and slight trembling in her body. "Let me go home." Her voice trembled slightly, as if she was about to cry. I did not reply, but held her hand and kissed it. Her white hand with long, slender fingers was very beautiful. She pulled her hand back and pushed me away. I held her hand tightly at my waist, holding her hand against my left chest, where she could feel a burning heart inside. Her eyes stared at it with a bit of curiosity, a bit of soullessness, a bit of struggle. The suffering was clearly visible on her beautiful face. Her breathing also became faster, more irregular. I held her hand and slid it down to her stomach, slowly sliding down, down. Her hand was already right on the towel. The loose towel fell like a flower petal blown by the wind. She felt it. Her hands tensed up to block my control. Her eyes were closed as if she didn't want to see. I had completely emptied myself before her, something I could only dream of. Once again, her mind was torn. How could a woman in her prime who lacked sex endure a hot, thirsty body in front of her? While she was struggling with her thoughts, I took the opportunity to kiss her lips. Her body trembled even more because of that kiss. It was like pouring oil on a burning fire, causing the fire in her body to flare up so strongly that it burned all her remaining stubborn reason to ashes. But the virtue of a loyal wife was not easily subdued. She still resisted my hands, refusing my kiss. The more she refused, the more I increased my speed and determination. At this time, I no longer had to use softness to overcome hardness, but had to win quickly at all costs, and by all means. My hand grabbed her hand and brought it straight down. The touch of her hand touched something warm. She understood what it was. Her body trembled even more, even hotter. She wanted to pull her hand back, but still couldn't, because my hand was holding it tightly. She had to force herself to touch it with difficulty. Her palm was pressed against it, but just pressed against it, and didn't move at all. She still hadn't been controlled by the fire of desire. Her hand had already touched it. My body was burning like a volcano. The instincts in my body seemed to be boiling, wanting to break out of my body and overflow endlessly. It was so good she had touched my thing. What could be better? Her body seemed to melt because of being too provoked. Her lips gradually relaxed to match the young man's lips. At this point, her instincts had completely controlled her. But to be sure, I still didn't dare to explore her body. I had to let her get caught up in the fun before I acted. I had to completely overwhelm her reason before I practiced on her. I pressed her against the wall and kissed her happily. She accepted the strong emotions that tormented her body. In that relaxed surrender, her hand seemed to be controlled by her emotions, boldly holding my thing to explore. She grabbed it and squeezed it gently. Her body was increasingly attacked more and more strongly. Occasionally her hand pinched me painfully. Her eyes were still closed and enjoying. Her face was grimacing with horror and mixed with the pain in her soul because of the torment. She gradually sank into shame and chastity. I didn't care. At this moment, it was like a bow was drawn and couldn't shoot if she didn't. My left hand kept kneading. My right hand quickly groped down her nightgown, exploring freely. She wriggled as if to avoid it. This moment was extremely important. I had to proceed quickly so she wouldn't be helpless. A sense of respect for her arose in my heart. Being away from her husband but not craving too much proved that she loved him very much and didn't have any wild dreams. The middle finger started to move, rubbing down along her slit and then pulling back up continuously. She and I began our foreplay eagerly. I adjusted my position, looking for her thing to prepare to enter, but she stopped me. The dream passed, making her reason rise again. Don't. We've been through such moments and you still want to stop me? You don't want to make a mistake with your husband. You made me happy, and I made you happy. Don't you accept me? I know I'm wrong. You love me very much. I know that, so I just want to stop here. Don't go any further. Heaven in front of me now has thunder blocking the way. Hot blood rushed to my brain, but I suppressed it as much as possible. I had to always be gentle and maintain a gentle attitude towards her, to convince her. In general, it was too difficult to control. She didn't let me, but I still went ahead. I love you so much. I hope you can reciprocate my feelings. You can't. You already have a family. Can't you put everything aside when you and I are like this? Her voice faltered and then fell silent. Her silence was like a heavy rock in my heart. You rejecting me like this really makes me miserable. I hope you reciprocate my feelings for you, even if it's just for this moment. She remained silent, her face full of anguish. She looked at me, then down at my chest, avoiding my pleading eyes. Then her right hand reached down to grab my little brother. I was surprised, not knowing what she meant. That's all I'll answer you. I was really disappointed and sad. In that disappointment, there was also admiration for her faithfulness and integrity towards her husband. A sudden jealousy arose. Don't, I don't want to. Why? Let me help you. Help like this. I'd rather not help. Just once. I want my first time to be completely with you. She was really confused by my straightforward words that poured out my heart. I want to be with you once. That determination, frankness, and sincerity made her feel awkward. Her eyes were sparkling. Just that was enough to understand. The stone in my heart seemed to be removed. She tilted her head unconsciously, 2 lines of tears rolling down her cheeks. She felt like she was at fault. Yes, I agree. But the lost loyalty made her hurt, unwilling. She wiped her tears away, kissed her cheeks tenderly as if to comfort her. She hugged me tightly, sobbing. I love her so much. I miss her so much. The feeling of love ran parallel to the fire of passion. I still hugged her sympathetically, while below me I still thrust slowly and steadily. She was officially mine. After just a few thrusts, her body began to react. Her hands rubbed all over my back and then moved down. I hugged her tightly, enjoying the wonderful feelings. She hid her head in my chest to avoid me. Her tears had also lessened a lot because of the excitement. Now I was completely satisfied and enjoyed the results of my achievements. Her hips bounced up as her arms wrapped around my neck. Her mouth bit hard on my shoulder to limit the almost screaming sound that wanted to escape from her throat. It had been too long since the last time she felt a man's thing inside her. However, this time it was not her husband or any other man but me, the student she loved the most. Her mind must have been in turmoil because her instinct was burning her reason. It's been a long time since I've felt this exciting feeling, and it's finally over. I've never felt so satisfied before. Thank you, life, thank you, just this once. I shouldn't do that anymore. Once is enough. Well, then keep quiet. When the dream passes, reason comes back. That's how it is. I hugged her and caressed her body, as if afraid that this feeling of affection would never come again. Suddenly, I felt worried. We hugged for about 6-7 minutes, then she pushed me away and sat up. I looked at her with affection. She put her clothes back on, quietly wiped away her tears and walked away, leaving me lying alone in a puddle of water in a corner of the bed. The scent of her body still lingered around my nose. I kept remembering her shyness and embarrassment mixed with that feeling, but besides the feeling of victory, there was still somewhere a worry, a thought. What would happen to her and me? Would she avoid me, hate me? It was possible. A virtuous woman like her would find it very difficult to accept the humiliation of having an affair, of having done it with a man who was not her husband. Now I probably have to use all my persuasive words to help her ease this physical humiliation, to save our relationship, and to help her reduce her instinctive guilt. She is not a person with high needs, but because she is a woman in her prime, it is difficult to win in this situation. What she needs now are gentle words and sincere feelings. I know how to do that. I got up and went to the bathroom to take a shower. My mind was refreshed and clear. The night sky was cool. My soul began to think of a way to face her. I looked up at the wall clock and saw that it was past midnight. I wonder if she has slept yet. What is she doing that she probably hasn't slept yet? Where is the mind to sleep at this hour? Well, I'll just boldly come over and talk, but I feel awkward. After that, I had to pick up the phone and call first. There were still long beeps on the other end of the line, but she didn't pick up. She didn't dare talk to me yet. Let's just go ahead and figure it out later. Holding the door key, I opened her room. The sound of the door creaking made her slightly startled and then turned to surprise. There was nothing to be surprised about when I had secretly kept her room key for such cases. And if you plan, you have to plan ahead a bit. She looked out the door and then lay down again, covering herself with the blanket. I gently walked over and sat next to her, looking at her without being able to say anything. She was so beautiful and sad. "Why aren't you sleeping yet?" she asked. "I can't sleep." "Don't think about it anymore. What's in the past? Let's not remember it anymore. Pretend nothing happened between us. I love you. I'm sorry." "Okay, I don't blame you. This is partly because you weren't determined. I just want to let you know that my thoughts and feelings for you are very much. You shouldn't be like that. I already have a family. You should give your feelings to another girl, the person you love and intend to marry. But you... Go home and sleep. I'm tired and want to sleep." So she didn't blame me. She was always like that, very tolerant and understanding. But I knew it would be hard to be as carefree as before. My hand gently rested on her shoulder, as if sympathizing with these feelings. Her eyes closed. seemingly lifeless. I stroked her long hair and then placed my hand on her cheek. Her warmth was so pleasant. How could I come back here when I wanted to look at her like this forever? I immediately lay down on the bed next to her. She lay with her back to me. I let my fingers play with the nape of her neck, gliding over the soft locks of hair and swirling around, tickling her so she arched her neck to avoid it. Then she and I hugged each other and slept until morning. Every game has an end. Time with her seemed to pass faster. We were both about to go home after days of sublime happiness. Every day was the same thing over and over again, but not boring doing that to each other. It seemed like I poured all my youthful vitality into her in the past days. We both were completely satisfied. Perhaps the past days were the most beautiful days of my life. On the morning of our last day in Nebraska, we sat drinking coffee together in front of the ocean. She and I held each other's hands tightly, as if we were afraid of losing each other. I was also sad because I could no longer sleep with her, no longer do things with her every morning. She was also sad, as if she was afraid of losing something, a nameless sadness. I will miss you so much, miss these days so much. Me too. I don't know when I will stop loving you. It will stop. There will be another girl who will make me forget you. You don't belong to me. I know, but my love for you is so great. I don't know if I still have any love for anyone else. No, your mouth is so sharp. There's nothing to worry about. I think you're handsome. There will be many girls around you. We returned to our daily lives. I was busy with the pile of work left over from my vacation, and she returned to her peaceful daily life. She was still on summer vacation. After a week, I didn't return to my hometown because I was still busy with work. It's true that I missed her so much that I wanted to hug her. After resting for 2 days on the weekend, I returned to my peaceful life in my hometown, or perhaps to see her. It's only been a week since we last saw each other, but I already missed her so much. During the days we didn't see each other, we rarely contacted each other. I didn't know if she missed me. I picked up the phone and looked at her pictures. Her face was radiant with a bright smile. My heart suddenly felt uneasy. I dialed her number and called. Hello? I'm listening. Why aren't you saying anything? I miss you. I miss you so much. But I haven't seen you for a while. I miss you so much. I miss you so much. I don't believe it. I don't want to. I hung up. I didn't know why I hung up. Hearing her voice made me so happy, but I felt choked up. Could it be that I loved her so much that I couldn't bear to leave her? A bunch of emotions ran through my head, as confused as when I first met her. Seeing me suddenly hang up the phone, she felt strange, so she texted to ask. I didn't reply. At 11 a.m., I stopped the car in front of her house. I stood there a little longer to remember her warm home better, took out my phone to take a picture of this dear house to recall later. Gently led the car into the yard and entered the house. She was in the kitchen cooking something. Hearing the noise, she turned around and was a little stunned. Why didn't you call me first? I didn't reply, but went closer to hug her. This familiar body scent made me excited. We had been apart for a few days, but why did I miss her so much? Kissed her forehead, nose, and then lips. She responded enthusiastically. A couple of lovers who had been apart for a few days when they met again felt overwhelmed with emotions. I didn't know if I loved her or her butt. I picked her up, carried her into the room, put her on the mattress. My body rushed over and did that right in her and her husband's room. Then I fell asleep without knowing it. When I woke up, it was almost 2 p.m. I washed my face and prepared to leave. She was sleeping in her room. Her body lying on her side made me hesitate to leave. I went closer. kissed her soft lips a few times, and then regretfully left. Why is she so beautiful? Early in the morning, while I was sleeping soundly, I got a phone call. It turned out to be her. I thought my friends were calling to invite me to have coffee. "You're not up yet, kid." "No, what are you calling for so early in the morning?" "My car broke down. Why don't you come pick me up this morning to get my newly tailored aodai, stay and play, then go home this afternoon? It's Sunday. Why are you home alone and bored? I miss you. Wait for me a bit. I'll come over right away. If you don't see me in 10 minutes, I'll cut you, I'll cut you, I'll cut you." She was in love, so her way of talking was extremely cute, as sweet as her skin. "Well, I'll just take a ride as a motorbike taxi this morning." After cleaning up and getting dressed, I looked in the mirror and saw another guy who was also very handsome. Strange, I was clearly the only one in the room.